and very successful in competition, and he's going to tell you how the secret to it. Here's Mr. Ben Mangan.
All right, so what I was going to do a demo and didn't really know how to convey like the best way to get ready, so I thought I would just talk. I tried to write down in the last few months and talking to other friends of mine of things that places to start and things that are very useful. So a few things I want to go over is one is contest selection. And then once we've selected, and then what I mean by that is select a contest for the level that you're at. Then I want to, then how to start practicing for that, where to begin. Like once we've made the selection of the contest we're going to go to, where we're going to begin to practice and how to practice. And then we're going to go over how to practice for live shooting. Different tips that I've learned along the way from other peers and things from competing. And then things that will help you at the contest once you've arrived there. So we'll try to go over all these different areas, and if there's questions at any point, just ask, because that's what makes a talk actually a bit more successful, if there's actually questions that we can go back and forth over, and feel free to ask whenever. So on contest selection, I think, there's international contests, there's local contests, there's WCBs, there's lots of contests. So I think the biggest thing is you need to know your level, like where you're at, so if you're just getting started, and if you're financially well off, yes, you can travel internationally to try to do something that's quite expensive, So the local contest, I think, has a great place for that. You can go, you can start out modifying keg shoes, you can start out in the plain stamps class, an intermediate novice, doesn't really matter, but truly know your level and where you're at. And that kind of leads into the next thing of, is once you've picked them and then you've gone to one, you'll soon find out the areas that you'll need improvement, like the areas that you have to work on, so is it the live shooting part of it, or is it the shoemaking part of it, or whatever. So in the selection process, that also helps, because there's some contests that you go to that's all live shooting. Well, if you're not really beyond pulling clips and maybe punching a nail hole, that's a bit of a jump, So start out with just the forging contest, like that shoemaking or shoe modifications. So then in the live shooting contest, there's different styles of shooting. Let's take, for example, the world class, the one that we just did, the classic. That's all. You got drafts, you got pleasure shooting or hunter shooting, and you got roadster shooting, and then but there's been a lot of good additions of, like in Arkansas, they have, I don't know if they still have it, but last year, that was the first year they had it, where you shoot a pair of feet, and but it's a lot of just pleasure shooting, or concave on the foot. So in the live shooting too, there's once you've decided, I'm going to do some live shooting contests, that's really what I want to do, pick the ones that, that are attainable for you, don't jump out there, because it can be very, you jump out like way above your level, and it can be real depressing, so, and then they don't really want to go back, you just kind of. So I think it's really important to know, where, be honest with yourself, but also at the same time, not to be a sandbagger either. Don't go and be like, well, I'm just going to go to this contest, because it's pretty simple. I bet I can win and feel good about myself. The whole point of competing is to be better and to do better. So, also pick one that you can do well in, and that you feel confident in, but also that that will push you further in your levels. So that's just kind of real brief over the different styles of contests and where to start. So let's move on quickly into how to start practicing, like where to start. So you've picked your contest, and now there's a shoe list, that comes out. So the way I've always found it very, for me, is I take the shoe list and I quickly look at all the parts on all the specimen shoes, and practice the parts that I don't know how to do. I don't practice the whole shoe. So let's say there's a heel caulk on there that I have not made many of. I'll just cut a piece of length, let's say it's on 1/2 and I'll just make a heel caulk, make a heel caulk, make a heel caulk, keep chopping it off till it looks just like the one in the picture. And so the caulkins are one, wedges are one, like there's all styles of wedges. There's ones that are turned up, there's ones that are bumped, there's ones that are like rammed together and set down. And so practice all those parts of the heels or of any part of that shoe, the toes, you know, like so some shoes you'll see like the judges made and every single toe has a certain radius or a certain look to it. So just practice that. Don't just go out to the shop and try to do the whole shoe start to finish. Because again, it's like if you picked a contest that's way above your level, it's very daunting, you know, like you're gonna go and you're just so overwhelmed that you're just not going anywhere, you know. So the same in the when you start practicing your specimen shoes, it'd be the same way, you know. Just take all the little parts, you know. Like let's say there's in a bar shoe, let's say they've got a heart bar or just a straight bar or an egg bar, and let's say it has like the little frog plate in there isn't set down. Well, you can just take a couple pieces and keep welding them up till they look, and you figure out how to get that, and then move on to the rest of the shoe. Clips are the same, you know. The clips you can practice every day. Like you'll see that in like from a guy will clip a shoe, and everybody kind of clips them the same, you know, like constantly through all the specimen shoes. So if you start to see like a certain style, like let's say they're real wide and short, or they're you know, tidy and tall, or whatever, you can practice those every day as you're shoeing, you know, and put them on feet and get paid to practice even, you know, so that's even better. But so you want to just, like I said, just practice all those parts, and it'll help. It'll speed up your preparation quite a lot. Another thing I find that's very, very helpful is to know all the measurements of the shoe. In most contests, you'll have a picture of the shoe, and they'll give you a width and length. But mathematically, you can figure out all the rest of the measurements. So I'll sit down when I've selected my contest. I've gotten my specimen sheet. Let's say there's a Roadster on there, and they tell you that the Roadster is 5 inches wide, conventionally. I'll turn that into millimeters. So so I'll turn that 5 inches into millimeters, whatever it is, and then the picture that they provided me with, I'll take a ruler of the millimeters and I'll measure the picture. Take that measurement and divide it into the known number that they've given me. That'll give me a ratio. That'll give me like, let's say 1.1 or 1.11 or whatever it is. So any other measurement that I want, I can take the picture that they provided me with and my millimeter ruler and measure anything off of there, multiply it times my ratio, and have the real number. And that's very key to when you want to know where the nails are, like how far back they are and how far apart the heels are, or how much offset there is, you know, in the shoe. So let's say you've taken your measurement and there's a 1/4 inch difference. So that means that there's a 1/2 inch offset in that shoe. The offset, whatever you measure that, it'll be half of what the offset is. So, I'll take, again, this is a lot of homework that you can do before you even went to the shop. You know, you can make a list of all your measurements, all the parts that you want to practice, and then go to the shop like with a true goal in mind of like where you're going to go from there. Is there any questions on that? Well, it's good. And then, so then once I've kind of gotten that sorted out, all the measurements, the parts are kind of sorted, I start to figure out a very systematic way to build the shoes. And I stay to that system, regardless of anything. So for a while, I would do the WCB contests. They're fun to do, and they're great. And they have a class called match play, where you start with a shoe. It's changed over the years. So when I was going, they had a shoe. They would take a picture of a shoe. And it would start out with, let's say, 15 minutes to make shoe, whatever it is. And I would make it, and then they would take time away. And so as time went away, then maybe down to 5 minutes or whatever. But I never changed the way I made the shoe. I made it in the same exact heats, in the same exact way every single time. I never tried to combine heats, skip a step, never. You know, so once I've found a system that I'm going to do that shoe in, that's the way I do it every single time. And that's the only way you're going to get consistent Because you'll hear, a lot of times you'll talk to guys and they'll say, I practice way better in the shop. My shop stuff looks way better than on the day stuff. And it's like, if you're not very ingrained with a very strict system of doing things, that's where you'll get irregularities. So I find it very important to, you know, for example, this class here we just did yesterday, the roadster and the plate. We've done that class for quite a while, you know, so I've done it a lot of different ways. So I thought, well, I normally build the roadster in 9 heats. And so I was like, well, I want to experiment with it. I think I can make it quicker. So I bumped the toe, and I turned the toe. And then I made one branch in one heat, another branch in one heat, turn, punch, clip. And I was still clipping, so that was a lot less heats than 9, still clipping at the same point when I was clipping at 9 heats, with a lot less energy spent. Because they were quick in and out, didn't cost my plate much, and still had time. So a lot of times too, like once you do have that system, yeah, you can speed things up or combine things, but it's truly not any faster. You know, and it actually adds a thing of, you know, one, it can wear you down because you're not hitting hot steel, and two, it can just open up, you know, a lot more room for error. Let me see, where was that?
Can we go back a minute?
Yep.
You said you're talking about areas of improvement.
Mm-hmm.
When I've attended contests, they often don't get feedback on their shoe by the judges.
Right.
And so, how do you know where your areas are you need to improve? You know, why did this shoe not do well?
Right. I'll kind of touch on that a little later, but so, but I'll answer that. But there is a window in time, like where, and there's still a window in time for me in that too, where I don't understand exactly why, you know, they don't place where they place. You know, there are simple rules, like first, it has to look and be like the specimen.
Right.
Two, the nails have to be down the center. That's like, those are basic aspects. It cannot be wrapped. It has to be clean. It has to be. And then after all of that, if that's all in there, there's opinion. You know, do you like that one better than that one? Oh well, that's fair enough. You know, it's just nothing we can do about that. You know, but so like I said, I'll kind of touch on it later. But like, so but that's really what. Sometimes the feedback is good, you know. But like, I think again, if you in your practice in the shop, if you're truly honest with your shoemaking, you know, like keep comparing it. You know, it's like the old cartoon. How many things in this picture are wrong with the, you know, or different from there? And have the picture of the shoe, and have this over here, and your shoe over here, and really you have to keep doing that over and over and over again. You know, but I'll touch back on that. Yeah. So that was the measurement. Okay, so another thing that helps me, again, in knowing if my shoe looks like the specimen is the negative space. You know, like, so you have the shoe, the picture of the shoe, and the space, the clear space inside of there. You know, so like, let's say you take French hind. You guys know what a French hind shoe is? That you know, it's a common shoe in a contest. You'll see the negative space inside shape of that shoe sometimes will look like a front, and sometimes it will look like a hind. You know, like there's a couple different ways you can make that. And two, like with roadsters are the same way. Some of the roadsters you'll see, they look like there's more of a front shape inside, and the outside of it looks like a hind, and then sometimes they look like a real pointy hind on the inside of the bolt toe quarters. So train your eye to see that stuff, like to see, because that's what makes your shoe look like their shoe. You know, like it's not just that the width is right and the heel spacing is right, it's the whole thing of it. Like, it's very artistic, you know, like I'm fortunate enough, my wife's an artist, so I'm lazy when it comes to that. I just make the shoes, I make the shoes, lay them there, and I just have her come out, she looks at them. And she tells me, well, that doesn't look like that, or that doesn't look like that, you know, and I'm like, oh, perfect, you know. And, but that's what you need, you know, that's truly what you need. So one thing that she does a lot of, like she does these paintings, you know, she does portraits of people in this. So she'll put the picture here and have a mirror here, and she'll look at the picture through the mirror. And so it's very helpful to like take pictures of your own work, and that'll help too. You know, there's many times you'll think like you'll make a shoe, you get done, and you'll take a picture of it to send to your friends, and be like, oh, I'm real good, and then you take it and you're like, holy man, you know, someone slid another shoe in there, you know. But that's a good way of practicing. You know, like you'll quickly see things that you need to improve on, you know. So going back to being systematic in your forging and your steps of making the shoes, also I find when I go to judge, or I see guys competing, is they don't practice filing, finishing their shoes. You know, like there'll be times in the shop that, well, that's all I'll do. I'll just go into the shop for 45 minutes or a half hour or whatever, and all I'll do is file up like 3 or 4 shoes. Because there's a lot to learn in filing, a load to learn. And so there is, again, I have a very systematic way of filing shoes up. So I'll pull the clip on the shoe, let's say in the contest, pull the clip, and I instantly go to the vise with that shoe and file my clip up. Because I don't want to burn my shoe on if the clip isn't nice, you know, and then burn it on and then file it up because I want it to look nice, and then I have this burn square, like where my clip was, and now it's a point, you know. So, when you're in the shop, always, again, get a real strong system of filing them up. So for me, pull the clip, set the clip to what I believe the hoof angle is, file my clip up, and then I file the whole front half of the shoe boxing too. So many times you'll go up and you'll say, oh, he's under the toe, he's under the toe. Well, just if you put a little bit of boxing around the front of your toe, that'll help you to fit to your boxing and not to the edge of your shoe, and you won't risk coming under. Sometimes our measurement system on the foot wasn't quite right, so yeah, we do have to come under, don't we? You know, it's more important to cover the heels so we can come under the toe. That's just safety mode, you know, we're just at that point trying to not get, you know, cover everything and get done, you know, but if everything's going well, put your clip, file that, file the surfaces. So when I file the surfaces, I just start, I always start, I file all the flat surfaces. So I use a sandbox, or you can use a file. The sandbox system that's out now is great. One is it works really well, and two is it's a lot cheaper than what we used to have to pay for files. Files were super expensive, you know. So I do the full flat surface, like the ground bearing and the hoof bearing surface. And that, what that does is it shows me all my parallel lines, the inner line of the full ring, the outer line of the full ring, and the outer line of the shoe. So from there, take a half round or another, you know, you can do half round, or you can, Justin makes a half round sandbox, which is great. Again, not that it gives me a lot of those things, but like, they're great to buy, they're great, you know. So we'll take it and make all those lines parallel now. And so in a concave shoe, so you're making a concave shoe, there's a lot more lines, isn't there, you know? You have your inner line, and at the top of the concave edge, you got that line, then it comes over to the full ring, you got that line, so you got all those lines, and you want all those lines run parallel. And you're gonna have to force them parallel with filing at that point. And then from there, you do the rest of your edges. You're gonna do your boxing on the back side, and then the part on the outer side, you won't see until it's nailed on, let's say. So you want that filed up too, you know, and you want that all clean. And the boxing is going to be determined by the specimen, how much the specimen has for boxing and safing. And then also, if you're going onto a foot, what the requirements of fit are. Is there any questions on that at all? Any as we're going? Nothing? So, no. Okay. And then so then the next thing would be, like, and I kind of touched on it, but it's like to take, and how I said it on here is to take honest pictures of your shoes. Very, you know, get them so they're like on your anvil and you're taking a direct picture over top of them. Because it's easy to take one like this, or like this, or like this of it, and it makes it look quite a lot better, you know. So take a true, honest picture of your shoe, a clear one, and you can either keep it for yourself to like look at maybe later, or send it to some friends and get some feedback, you know. But like, I think it's very key that if you want to do well at competing, is not to be self-impressed, you know. It's like truly at all times, you know, to be a good competitor is to always be on the trying to be better, trying to progress, even if you're at the top. Because at the top, when you're at the top, it's way harder. Because there's a bunch of guys coming behind you, pushing and pushing and pushing all the time. So it's even harder to keep staying there and staying keen to. The thing, you know, so you know, like knowing what's wrong with your shoes and what's not wrong with your shoes and why they did whatever, is if you one thing that I found that's very helpful is I put them on a grid. So you just take you can take a piece of aluminum and make 1-inch squares, you know, all the way through, and just lay your shoe on there, and see if they are good on there. You know, everything, we like symmetrical. Everybody's eye does. You know, everybody likes balance, the same side to side, front to back. Are the nails across from each other? Are they windswept in the back? Is a toe pointing over here? Is a clip in the center? And so if you can't see it, you have to train yourself to see it. That's where the pictures help. That's where the grid helps. That's where asking your friends help. Because that's really what's key is that in the contest or in your practice is that you can actually do what you set out to do, but then also be able to see your mistakes. And when someone asked me once, they're like, "Oh, it just seems like when you went through the class, it was so smooth." And what I always try to tell my son and tell other people that I've helped is like the first 15 minutes of the class is all you're learning is like where you have to fix for the next whatever's left of the class. That's what I do. I mean, and that's what I do. I mean, I just start, just like, ooh, they said go, so I start. And then in about 15 minutes, I figure out, like, okay, now I've got a half hour to fix all these problems, and sometimes I get them all fixed, and sometimes they're unfixable. Like, you're just like, well, I'm gonna hide them as best as possible. And so, and when you say hide them, that's where you learn to file. You learn to maybe take a nail and move it fine, or move it coarse, or whatever. You know, you learn, that's just the way it is. You know, I mean, it would be great that, yeah, you just, every time you touch steel, it turned into a beautiful shoe, but not for me. And then the basics, you know, is kind of what I touched on too before. The basics, like, so there are rules, you know, like nails down the middle, you know. And you'll hear that, guys be like, well, why are the nails down the middle? Well, because the section of hoof wall, like, so the section of the shoe is made for that hoof wall. So let's say if it's 3/4, that means it's a 3/8 hoof wall, so the nail should be in the middle, so you drive them in and go into a white line, they don't go into the wall. So whatever the section is, you know, they need to be down the middle. Now, there's exceptions, like, so the specimen, let's say, is a bevel. Well, bevels are typically over punch, you know, you'll really put a pitch on because the nail's got to get in there, going way out around the foot. A draft, let's say it's a draft shoe. Draft shoes on the lateral side, many times, you'll have a lot more they'll be a lot coarser, you know, a lot more pitch on them, you know. But the basics still always stay, you know, like shoes need to be flat, you know. They need to be flat, like, yes, if you're sighting them like this, but really what they need to be flat too is they need to be forged flat. So one thing that helps me a lot is I have one hammer. It's a 3-pound hammer that I made with Brian Brazil, and all that hammer does is flat, make shoes flat. It's got a pretty good wide face on it, and I don't do anything with it because the face of that hammer is perfectly flat. And that's all I do with it. I mean, okay, maybe it's a waste of just one hammer and 5 pounds of weight dragging around me, but that's what you have, you know. So when I get to the point where I want to flatten my shoe and get everything crisp, I just take that one hammer, and that's what I do. I don't have to really swing it. It's got a good weight to it. It kind of falls. I also have a Roy Bloom 3-pound hammer, which works the same for it very well. And then I just find it's like you have to have something of that's not going to get dinged up or a little pucker on it or anything like that, so that, you know, it's just very forged, very crisp. And then from there, yes, level this way makes, you know. But you'll hear people all the time, well, my shoe was flat. You're like, well, it really wasn't forged flat, and that's what they're talking about. Is the shoe was not pressed flat, you know. You know, other parts of the basics are like the clips, you know. So again, you know, your eye likes symmetrical, you know. So if you can't match the specimen, at least make it symmetrical. The base is wide as the stock is, and the height relatively the same, you know.
Can you back up to boxing and safe and explain what it is?
Yeah, so boxing is like where is the edges that are taken off the expansion you're going to fit with. So you understand that? So like, let's say we're going to fit with an 1/8 inch of expansion around the foot. Well, that needs to be boxed off, you know. So it's going to be at whatever angle. What looks best is whatever angle the hoof wall is. So if your hoof wall is coming down like that, if you can continue that, almost like the same bevel, that looks nice, and then cleaned off. And then safing is the other way, on the ground side, for safety of the horse hitting himself, you know, so it'd be cut back in the other way. I try not to, like, so on boxing, you don't really want, you just want to come around the heel and not up the check. But you see that a lot, where people will come all the way around the heel. But when you do that, you're taking away on the inside, like where the check is, you're actually taking away bearing. So that's, you know, Yep.
If you use a flatter, would you start on the ground surface and then turn it over, or would that be the other way around?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, so like, if not even just a flatter, so any section that I find that's over 1 inch, you know, like a 3/4, not so much, but like over 1 inch, I'll take my 3-pound hammer or a flatter, and I go actually down the ground surface first. And a lot of people are like, oh no, you're only supposed to hit the foot side. That's what makes flat. But I find that when you fuller in on the wider sections, it actually takes that stock from like this, and it, just at the edges of fuller, makes it do this. Well, when you hit steel, it makes the steel come to the hammer. You know, so I'll go 1 pass on the ground side first, and then I'll flip it over and go over the foot side. And that just pops that all up on the draft shoes, any wide section shoe, like a lot of roadsters, 3/8 by 1 shoes that we put on or whatever. And that really gets things crisp. So we're still talking about practice. Is have a practice schedule. You know, like I have a practice schedule. I practice every morning and every night, every day. And somebody like, oh, I can't commit to that. It's not a huge commitment. It's not. It's like, it takes you a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour in the morning, and maybe the same at night. You know, but every single day. You know, it's like, and I find that I get more out of that than I would practicing all day. You know, all day you get kind of brain dead, and your mind doesn't stay sharp, and you just wind down, and you just get low. You know, you're just not doing well. You know, you get in there with a clear goal in mind. I've got a bandsaw, so I can cut the steel the night before. I come in, it's on the floor. Fortunate enough, I got 4 kids. I tell them, I sit at the table, drink my coffee, tell them, go start my fire. Yeah. They go out, they start my fire, I sit there for, I don't know, 10, 15, I know the fire's hot, I go to the shop, you know, it's perfect. But like, truly have a schedule and stick to your schedule, you know, like that. Some guys will be like, well, I just want to like practice in the evening. There's not too many contests that I've gone to that only start in the evening. They all start in the morning. So, if you're not used to getting up and getting behind the anvil, your body's not going to want to get up and get behind the anvil. So you need to train yourself. That's another aspect of train yourself. Get up, go to the shop, you know, just get yourself going, you know, and you know, so it's just, you know, get a plan, get a schedule, you know, and then Saturdays, you know, sometimes on Saturdays I'll do the same thing. I'll just do a bit in the morning, a bit in the evening, do other things, or I'll have a half-day practice, you know. I think it's very important in your schedule too is to practice with other people. You know, if you can host a practice at your place, you know, it's a great social time. It's a blast. You know, you have a great time, meet great people, or go somewhere else and practice with someone else. There's a lot of times people will be like, well, I'd like to do that, but I don't know who to ask. You know, and you'd be like, well, you're more welcome to come to my place. Like, oh, I thought I could never ask you. Anybody will have you. You know, I mean, don't be shy. You know, just, you know, don't, you know, just ask. They'll have you. They'll more than have you. You know, and I think it's very important. So in your practice to have somebody else there, even on team deals. I've been on lots of different teams, you know, AFT or WCB, and also just other teams for Calgary. I've been to England just on my own with other guys. And whenever we have a team practice, we always have somebody else there, somebody on the outside. It doesn't have to be, you know, a Jake Engler or a Gene Leisure or an Austin Eames or someone that's really good, a Krager. It just has to be somebody, you know, another Farrier, just to come in and you know, if you're doing live shooting goes or practices, have them look at your stuff. Really, like, and you can learn from anyone. You know, again, it's not, you know, don't think like, oh well, you know, he's over here, the novice, so I probably can't ask him. Well, he's probably going to see something. Like I said, I ask my wife all the time to look at my shoes. I mean, I think she can probably pick a shoe up and throw it, you know, but she can't make one. She has no clue where to begin. But she helps me more than most on, you know, making them. So like, it doesn't really matter who you ask, but like, I just, that's something that's really, I really strongly think is you need to have somebody there to help. And when it goes bad, stop. You know, like, if you're in the middle of, you know, so you cut your steel and you set out, and, you know, the wind is just right and the sun's out, you know, just everything's going, and then halfway through it's going bad, just throw it down, stop, make another one. Like, a lot of times you'll see guys keep struggling and struggling and struggling along, you know. That's not really good practice. You know, you get halfway through or whatever, and you've made a mistake, that's, throw it down, stop, go get another piece, start, you know, try to always be moving ahead and not, you know, trying to just, you know, stay above water, you know, like, always try to keep, in your practice, keep moving ahead. Is there any questions with that at all? No? So we've kind of come all the way up to this point. We've picked our contests we're going to go to. We've made all the little parts. We've had a few goes at the shoes. We've had people look at whatever. So we're getting closer and closer to the date. So now it's very important to have timed goes. You know, I've heard guys say, well, that's not really that important. I can make the shoes in 20 minutes or this or that. But it's super important to have timed goes. You know, like, let's say, even if you're doing your journeyman's test or your certified test or any of them, you need to have timed goes of different aspects of the job too. Like, you could, let's say you're doing your journeyman's test, just time yourself on trimming a pair of feet. Time yourself on making a pair of front shoes, a pair of hind shoes. Time yourself on clipping up a pair of hind shoes. You know, so for me, like, when I practice, I'll do timed goes. I'll have a watch on. I have a clock on the wall, and I constantly am looking at it. And it's not because I'm worried about running out of time. That's never been a problem. But I want to know where I'm at in that go. Because like I said, that first 15 minutes is, they said go, and the rest I'm just trying to correct everything and get finished up. So if I know, and I look at the clock, and every time I've had a time go, at 20 minutes I'm doing, let's say, punching the third nail hole. And then let's say I've gotten to the 15-minute mark, and that's what I'm doing. Now I know I have 5 minutes to go back and fix mistakes that I've made as I went. So I find it very important to keep an eye on that clock in your practice so that you're fully aware of what is available to you. So one, at the end of the class, you're not standing around, you know, and not with nothing to do. You know, you're like, ooh, I had 5 extra minutes. I should have done this or that. And the other one is that you're not at the very end, you know, dropping stuff and fumbling and tripping over stuff and all a mess, you know, like it's, so it's very well mapped out, you know, so I'll have, you know, and if it's too much for you to keep an eye on, have that extra guy at your practice or extra somebody, just kind of telling you, you know, you're 20 minutes in, you're 15 minutes in or whatever, and keep a true eye on it. And that helps me also map out my system in my gun. Is knowing, fully aware of where I'm at with my time, and then I'll know, you know, actually it's just as efficient for me to take an extra heat here or an extra heat there, or there's an aspect I struggle with, so I'm going to take an extra heat for that aspect and not rush it, because I did end up having an extra few minutes. Yeah.
Before you put everything together into your time goes, do you ever just practice parts of shoes instead of entire shoes?
Yeah, we started there. I don't know if you're here. Yeah, we started with that. Yeah, we practiced just aspects of the shoes that we're not comfortable with or that we want to figure out to make it look like the specimen. Yeah.
Do you arrange your tools in order? Do you have a way that you approach that?
I should, actually. You know, so a good friend of mine, Josh Stanley, he is a super competitor. He was, him and I were mates for, you know, two-man guys for a long time, and he is very organized. You know, here. I am not that way. I'm you know, I should be. You know, and I'm just not. I pile everything up, and then I shift through it, and it all falls down, and I pick it all back up. But no, I would very, you know, it's a great idea, you know. I tell myself every year, I'm going to do that, and I don't, you know. But another friend of ours is Tyler Marshall. He's on our team for Classic, and he, what he does is he has different color tape on his tools, and he knows as he progresses in, you know. And then too, what that helps is so like if you're striking for Tyler, I strike for him. He's on my team. I know the next tool he needs. After one go with him, I know his color system. So, you know, that's hats off to him. You know? So that was kind of an overview. If there's any other questions on it, that was kind of just went over practicing for the specimen shoes. Is there, or like for forging? Is there any more questions on that? We'll go on to some live shooting. Nothing? So how to practice for live shooting? I believe I shoot a lot of horses, and I like to shoot horses because I like money. So I think getting paid to practice is, you know, the way to go. You know, so one is have horses brought to your shop, shoot them, get paid for them, you know, and then there make, you know, put the whatever shoes that are required at the contest on those horses. Every day you can practice your nailing and clinching. You can have a little clock on your toolbox. You can click it and time yourself. Because once again, there's going to be that day in the contest where you thought everything was going well, judges got hung up over here, or whatever happened, time's ticking down, you have 2 minutes to nail and clinch. Well, if you've had a lot of, because you've shot, let's just say you shot 3 horses per day for the last whatever, a few months, you've timed yourself, you don't have to worry. Because you know you can, on certain feet or whatever, you can bolt the thing on. So fortunately enough, at Classic, the contest we just came from, one of our mates there, he got hung up on the front foot and the shoe was away, the judges came, whatever, and he nailed and clinched. Then it wasn't, you know, a 9-2 job, he got an 8-2 for it, but he did it in 1:22 seconds. Got the shoe back, nailed it on, clinched it up. So it can be done, you know, so, and if you've practiced enough and you've timed yourself, you know that you can do that. You don't have to stress. Because that's the thing is again, going, when you come to the contest, is that the biggest enemy is stress, right? You're there, you're nervous, everybody's watching you, and you know, and you're shaking, you know, the tubes are moving, you know, so so you really need to, you know, you need to be able to calm yourself down. And by calming yourself down is one, like I said before, when you're making specimen shoots, have that clock, know where you're at in your time. That relieves a lot of stress. Nailing your shoe on, timing yourself for that. Trimming, you know, trimming your foot. That's really, there's a lot there in trimming your foot. Front feet are round, hind feet are a little more pointy, all the time. It's not my opinion, it's not someone else's opinion, that's the way they are. Nobody likes pointy front feet. Nobody likes real bold hind feet. So make those shapes. Make shapes that you can fit. Put the quarters across from each other. Like, it's not opinion, you know, like, that's the other thing too, is a successful competitor has no opinion, none. You want to nail down to their ears, I'll give it a go. I'll do whatever you want me to do, because all I want to do is win. So, that, again, you know, nobody, like I said, on the front feet, make them round, on the hind feet, you know, typical hind shape. And so I find, the other thing that will speed you up with your shoes is identify your heels on the horse. So if your heel comes around, you know, the feet that, let's say like most paints, you know, like the toe quarters up here on the medial side, it drops straight back, and the outside comes to that. So you have to take a little bit of this medial toe bump off, a bit of this hind thing, try to make it round, hind flare or whatever, quarter way back here. If you take too much of the toe off, well, you're just sticking, you know. That's just what happens on paints, you know. So, but that inside heel sweeps way in. So you need to, when you're trimming your foot, identify your heels. Like, okay, this one sweeps in, this one comes to here. So this heel over here can stand on just a nice round heel. This heel over here, the check has to move to the inside. So what I mean by that is, if you have, so the end of your heel, I'm not much of an artist, you know, let's say for a hunter heel, that would be center. You know, that'd be the center of the heel. That would be just a pretty typical heel. Like, so look at this on that paint horse where it hooks way in. You want to move the center of this heel over here. You want to actually bring it over here. And that's still straight. But see how you've already fit that corner on that horse's foot.
Could you draw the foot and show us how that fits over? Well, just the heel area. Don't get crazy. So that we see
away.
how,
1 minute, please.
I want to see how that heel applies to the horse's tail.
You know, just, you know, like, we'll give it a go. be kind of like this. There we go. Here's the bar. Let's say we got a frog over here. We'll call it the frogs over here. Oh, there we go. You know, so the buttress would do that. Just hook way in. You know.
Okay. I get it.
And so you see all this shoe's still straight, but by moving the center of the heel over to here, and this is almost being kind of left relatively straight, already starts to fit that.
I follow.
So you can experiment with those different types of heels just on your everyday work with a grinder on a kick shoe. So identify the heel, like trim your foot. You're getting paid to do it. Trim your foot, and then take it over to your grinder and grind that profile on your shoe. Just grind that right on there. And then you don't have to, on your shoemaking, when you have your shoe come around, your shoe doesn't have to come around like this, and then all of a sudden at the end have this like kink, this ugly kink at the end to cover the buttress. You know, it can just still have a nice flow to come around to the buttress. They, so you can, those are things where you can get paid to practice. You can do that on all, so let's say, so you got the round heel, you have a real strong checked heel. So what that would be for is like if the heels came kind of straight back like a clubby type foot, and they were like right up on the frog, you'd put a strong check in. So you can identify that on your everyday trim, and then go to the grinder, cut that in there, and then you'll know, like when you're making your shoe for your foot later on, and it's a handmade, you'll know more like what the heel, like what you're shooting for, to save you time when you forge it on. And there's a reverse check. Kind of a French heel type thing, you know, like we all probably know what those are. You know, the heel comes straight back. So this would be used more like a little short check here on this side, like that. Then there's a lot of boxing on this side, you know, where the foot comes in. This was what we would use for a heel still like this, but it would be on a foot where you're allowed quite a lot of expansion, where you can file a lot off. You know, and on hunters you can't, you know, it has to be right on, you know. And so you just have to decide where to put the center of the heel. Is there any questions on that at all? No? So then too, like, I'll take a little tool bag with me and experiment finish on foot on the feet. You know, again, this is just everyday client type work, and I get paid for it. So I'll buy different sandpapers and different this and different that to try and see what I can get for finish on feet. So that's something that you can do. You get paid to do it. It's, you know, why not take full advantage of it? You know, try to get, you want to be able to have like a finish on your foot where it's like a bowling ball finish, but you're not, you know, taking foot around your nails. So when you're sanding that foot after you clinched, don't keep going over top of your nails, because the nails are hard, the foot's soft. You're removing the foot around those nails. Now they're sticking out again, you know. So you feel them, you're like, oh man, there's a file on them, and now they're getting weak, and you know, and you're stressed out because there's 30 seconds left, and you can hang your hat on your clinches, and you know, it's just like, this is a mess. So, but all those things, you don't have to put handmade shoes on to practice those things. You can practice those things shoeing Molly in the backyard or whoever. It doesn't matter, you know. So this is a big, I know it can be controversial, but to make shoes at the horse or not, I recommend not. And the reason is, so let's say we go to a contest, you got to shoot a pair of feet. And let's say you're putting on, I've been known where you used to put concave on, they give you an hour, you know, 1 hour. So if you're at the client's place, you know, she's standing there talking, telling you everything you don't want to know, and then you're gonna if you're gonna do that horse legit, it's gonna take you 2 hours to shoe that horse all around with handmade shoes, because that's what you would get in the contest: 2 hours to the front, 2 hours to the back. So I mean, if you can really get paid well, you know, you can manage your 2 horses a day. That's 4 hours. Okay, you want to work 6 hours or whatever, your drive time, you know, that's 8 and a half hour a day, an hour either way. You got 3 horses now. I don't know, I try to get that done in an hour. You know, I want to make money. You know, like, so, help, I try to get that knocked out 2-3 an hour. You know, like, I want to rock and roll for it. So making shoes at the horse for me is not an option. It's inefficient, and I don't find it to be good practice. What you'll do is you'll teach yourself to cut corners, because you're getting sick of hearing about her life, who's holding a horse, and you just want to get done, you know? And so that's not good practice. Good practice is to be able to take your time set out, do the job, and then take your time in judging it and having others judge it. So I recommend, and this is what we do, we have horses come to the shop, either in the evenings on Friday or Saturday mornings, you know. And again, if you can do that, you know, schedule that with a friend, or even, like I said, our last practice we had in Vermont for a classic, we just had like 3 or 4 of the local farriers in the area that we get along with, that are good friends, so they tell us what we want to hear. No, so that they, but they came and they looked over our trims and they looked over our shoemaking and they pointed out things that, you know, that we missed, you know, things that we overlooked. And I find it doesn't really matter if he's a competitor or not. Those things, having that guy there is great, you know. Did anyone see what Jim Burton? I'm not on Facebook, but I guess it was on Facebook. Someone showed me he did the percentages from the classic. You guys saw it? That's pretty interesting, isn't it? Like, so, like I don't remember it was like a percent, basically a tenth of a point between most everyone, all the way down through. You know, and you're like, you know, it looks like at the end of the day, well, he beat us by 9 points, but like, it was just per foot score was a difference of a tenth of a point. That's crazy, isn't it? Like, that's all that is someone just pointing out, you know, oh, you're just a bit not quite center over center, you know, center heel over center branch, you know, all those little things, you know. So again, it doesn't, just having someone there to help you do that, keeping you sharp, and that's you won't stay sharp if you're trying to make shoes that feet. It's just because, again, you're trying to get horses done, you're trying to get to the next place and all of that. I mean, if you want to do it, that's fine. I'm not telling you I won't ever talk to you again. I'm just telling you that for me, it's not the way to go. And so the thing is like how much steel to cut for the foot. You know, that's always the question. Like, and it's funny, you go to a contest and everybody's like, well, what would you cut? Well, what would you cut? Well, what would you cut? So again, you need to be super systematic in figuring out what to cut. And you don't have to have a horse to learn what to cut for steel. What you need to do is like, so they're going to require you to put, let's say, 3/8 by whatever's appropriate on the foot. So you need to go to the shop and make it. That's where we go back to this whole thing that I started with, is being very systematic in your shoe building. So let's say we're going to use 3/8, 3/4. We're always going to bump the same amount, the same way into that shoe, turn it, whatever. And that's where we decide, that's where we come up with our system of measurement, because we now know what our shoes, when we cut 12 inches, what that size comes to, what that covers. And then if we're going to run it down, let's say we're going to make 3/8, 7/8, we're going to take 3/8 by 1, run it down to 7/8, we've made a few shoes of them. Well, you can take those shoes right on the back of what you've cut, know what the perimeter measures, take those to work with you, and lay them up on feet. Measure the feet, and like teach yourself what that all measures. And then you don't ever have to go, like I say, at the contest, run around and ask everybody else what they cut, because it actually doesn't really help you, because they're not the ones making the shoe, you are. So I measure from where I want to fit to where I want to fit her on the foot. That's how I do it. There's length and width, there's lots of different ways to do it, but that's just how I do it. So I measure where I want to fit to where I want to fit. A lot of people will measure heel to heel. That's, if I'm hunter shoeing, that's what I would do. But so whatever style of shoeing that I'm doing is to where I'll measure to. So it looks like, yeah, we're just measuring on the foot, but it's a little bit more than that. The offset is very important on hind shoes, especially if you're going to do, let's say, a hunter fit heel on the inside and a pleasure fit on the outside. So we'll go back to what I said way back about the specimen shoes. Is like, you know, you measure from center to the outside to where you want to fit, center to the inside of where you want to fit, and whatever the difference is, let's say it's a 1/2 inch, split that in half, and that is your offset every time. Is there any questions on it? Yeah.
Back up to nailing. How do you get around a nail hole, an old nail hole that's right in the way?
I just move the nail. Yeah. So I try to, again, see that stuff before you punch your shoe. So let's say you've got an old nail hole, let's say, that's in your way, or you have a crack or a chip's gone or whatever. So I'll just leave that nail hole out. I'll punch all my other ones, take my shoe to my foot, take a marker with me, mark to where I want the new nail hole, go and just punch that one last, pretty much out and go. Because it's not worth just slapping them in there where you're going to put them all every single time, and then now you're struggling, poking out, and the clock's tick, 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 tick. So it's very key to measure your feet consistently every time. You know, like if don't rush. There's certain aspects you can't rush. For me, I can't rush measuring, and for me, I can't rush my offset in my shoes. Those are very important to me. Like I really, really, truly want to have those things right, and then from there, move on.
You're measuring heel to heel. Do you measure widest part, distance between the heels?
No, I just take a flexible tape and go from where I want to fit, around the foot, tight around the foot, to where I want to fit. Yeah.
But I meant, I do that measurement, but do you also measure width or width
No,
between the heels?
I don't
You
do
any of
that. No,
Okay.
I don't. I'll take those measurements back with me so that I know after I made my shoe how wide my foot is and the width between my heels. But that's all it's for.
Right.
There's nothing, no bearing on the cutting steel. Yeah.
Yeah, so the flexible things are great. Check them every so often. My husband and I like trim and work together. And I was wondering why the handy measurements to build shoes may be too long. Tape and stretch it over time.
Oh yeah.
I was going to figure that out.
That's all. Yeah. I don't know. I've never checked my butt. That'll be a good excuse next time. I miss it.
That darn tape.
No, so then now we'll move on to like how to lay your nails out. Like where do we determine where we're going to start our fuller in, or where we're going to put our nails? You know, so the toenails, like where are we going to start our fuller, where are we going to put our toenails? I'll take a pair of calipers or a ruler, and you can measure between the heels, center heel, split that difference in half, and that's where your toenails or fuller should go. Or you take a pair of calipers from the center of the frog to the buttress, and that'll also tell you. You understand with that? So when we make our shoe, and then everything's square, our nail holes are over the top of the heels. The heel nails, we want halfway, as long as the foot's pretty symmetrical, halfway from the toenail to the end of the heel, that's where we want our heel nail. And then let's say it's 6 nailed, we want to split the difference between those 2 nails for our third nail, for our center nail. And if there's 4, you know, but we just bunch those 4 up. Make room for clips if there's quarter clips. But that's how you decide where your toenails will go. So for me, again, like the things that I want to put on my shoe before I start, put in the fire, is I'm going to know how much steel to cut, how much offset, figure that out, and then know where I'm going to put my start of fullering, figure that out, and I'll make those marks. And so when I put my steel in there, first heat out, come out, I'm going to cool just outside of my little toe marks, and I'm going to bump there, put it back in, come out, and I'm going to bump equally from each side. 1, 2, 3, 4 from one side. Again, very systematic. Flip it around. 1, 2, 3, 4 from the other side. Because many times you'll do that, and it'll all bump in on one side. And just keep flipping that over and over. And then you'll know, like on my roadster like yesterday, on my roadster for that, I want to put about roughly a ½ inch in there, and I build a wedge in my toe. So I need to put a little more in that because I stretch it back out. I hit it 12 times. That's what I do. 1, 2, and 3 pound here, 12 times. And that's what I mean. You have to be super systematic in what you're doing, and then you'll start to get the same results every time. Let me see. That'll be another thing. So I don't know where we're at for time. Close to 8. Okay, so I'll just wrap up here with things that'll help you at the contest. So we kind of went, hopefully we got something out of like the specimens, the live show. If there's any questions, ask. But these will be just some things that will help you once you've shown up at your contest. You're there. You know, what I like to do is I like to bring my best shoes, specimen shoes that I've made in my shop that we have to make on the day. For 2 reasons. One is that I can, you know, some contests like here they don't want them on the floor. Fair enough, whatever. At least you still have them with you. You look at them, you study them, you just try to. I think it's if you can at least do to the best of your level, like what you did at home at the contest. That's what you set out to do, yay. If it's a little better, great. If it's worse, you didn't really do what you set out to do, you know. It's not the judge's fault. It's not the lighting, it's not the time. It's that you didn't get it done. It just was a little bit of a failure. Fair enough. You can bring templates for the feet, just like you bring to work with you. You know, some contests allow that. Bring, you know, so you can measure your foot and be like, that's going to take 12. Have a 12-inch shoe, put it on there, you know, and have a look at it. Because a 12-inch foot can be a lot different, can be like different hoof walls. So let's say, yeah, it's going to take 12 on there, but you want to put a real nice heavy toe on it because the foot just looks like it needs a nice heavy toe. So you can put on there like, I'm going to 12 yaw cover, but I want an extra 1/4 inch in my toe. I'm going to actually cut 12 1/4, 12 1/2, and put that extra bit in the toe. You know, then it gives you a little bit to vary from, you know, and that's where you're trying to catch those little bit more points, try to catch that judge's eye and make it look like you made a shoe just for that foot, individual foot. You didn't just make a generic shoe and whack it on. The other thing, I think, as you're coming up, you know, as you're progressing as a competitor, is watch the guy. There's always, like, as I came up, and you know, I'm still coming up, you know, I watch guys that beat me, you know, and I watch them closely and figure out why or where they're beating me, because it's all been done before. Like, you know, none of us has invented this competing thing. It's all been done before. So that's what you need. You got to be keen enough to watch the guy who's been beating you and figure out what he's doing differently. And then, and that will help you slowly improve. You know, you'll see things, be like, oh, okay, he's did this or did that, and you know, it just, you know, don't emulate like or to copy like sweet little moves that he does. You know, that's not what you're looking for. You're actually looking for like aspects of like why, you know, in his go, what did he do different? Like what things he was stronger on? Was he more organized? Did he have his tools more organized than I did? And did I waste a lot of time there, or did he, you know, whatever? You know, just try to be real. You know, try to, you know, really try to pinpoint like why is he always, you know, and then too. that's what I did is I would pick those guys and then I would just want to beat them at the next one. And then I'd pick a new guy and I'd be like, I'm going to beat him the next one, you know. And then I wouldn't even go to a contest if he wasn't going to. I'd be like, no, I'm not going. I'm only going to go because he's going there because I want to beat him. And I'd get over top of him and go to the next one, you know. And I still do that. Like I don't, there's contests, I just want to go compete against certain guys, you know. I want to beat them, you know, and then move on, you know. And that's, you know, and it's still, it's not just because you want to like smash them down. It's that, you know, they're at that level, and that's, you're just trying to get to the next level.
How much do you warm up, and what do you think helps you?
Like yesterday, I just made a heel call quick before that qualifier or Roadster Classic call now, you know, a little bit, you know, yeah, a little bit. I try to just, you know, just get focused, you know, and really have that go mapped out. It's kind of the same deal. The same deal will be like in the foot. So like when the horse walks up to you and they say, okay, you got to shoe the right front foot. As I try to look at the foot and try to imagine what the final job is going to look like. Like, all right, I'm going to put all my nails. I'm going to put my nails here. I want the clip, you know, like, say they're going to toe clip it. So if the foot's real upright, a tall clip ain't going to look good on that. You know, a medium clip's going to look good on that. You know, if a foot's real low, long pasture, a tall clip's going to look good on it. You know, like those types of things. Like, look at it and be like, well, how can I make this look better? The foot is kind of just, looks like the horse just stands over the outside, you know? Well, that foot's going to look better with just a bit more up the outside and a bit more boxing. So what I might do is bump my toe a bit more and then blow my floor out, not hem it at all. Let that all blow out. Just really have a game plan, like, and then I don't have to make that aware to the judge. Like, oh, I'm going to do this. I just do it. They like it or they don't like it. And then I got to know in myself, did I actually execute, pull off what I thought I was doing, you know? And I guess too, like I found over the years, going to the judges meeting could lead you astray sometimes. You know, go to the judges meeting to hear like what they want to see and everything, but don't take that back to the room and be like, oh man, I'm gonna have to do this and do this and do this, you know. Do what you did in your practice. Just, again, that's kind of why you bring your specimen shoes, you know. Set out and do exactly what you did there, you know, and then from there, be flexible to move to the next level or whatever, you know. But don't get hung up in like the judges. I've judged quite a bit, and it's easy to stand up in front of everyone else and tell them, well, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see this. But really, when you get in the judges room, you only get to judge what they gave you, you know. And if you get hung up on like what you thought you wanted to see, you're probably not going to see, you know. And so to do a real fair job as a competitor, you have to go back to judging the basics. So I can real quick brush on that. I should have talked about this earlier. So, I've judged, I've been on both sides. And so when I judge, I try to keep, and everybody judges differently, but I try to keep it so the competitor can see where I'm going. So in the trim, I judge two things, that's it. Flat and over trim or under trim. Is it over trimmed or under trimmed? I don't care about shape. I'll hit you on shape when you figure shape. I'll hit you later on, So flat. And people are like, oh, well, there must be more to the trim, was it the bars, was it the frog, or whatever. No, you can pick the winner just because out of 50 guys, it'll be 2 flat ones. And then the other one will be, over prepped, you cut one side of the frog too short or something, So in that way, the competitors feel like they have a chance. They're like, oh, well, this is easy. He's not all hung up on shape because I got a foot that I can't shape. I find that to be very unfair. If I come in and I'm like, well, I want this shape regardless, and the foot comes in a box square all busted off. Well, that guy lost just because he got a bum draw. That's not fair, So then it comes to the shoemaking and shoe fit. That'll be your next two categories. I never judge shoemaking before I judge the fit. I don't stand there with the shoe, eyeballing it all up and down, and then judge fit. I judge the fit, and if it doesn't fit, I don't care how nice the shoe is, I'm going to calculate it. Because the deal is that the shoemaking, it normally doesn't fit because the shoemaking is no good. Yeah, it's beautiful, it's polished, it's clean, everything's nice. The offset was wrong, didn't cut enough steel, put the fuller in the wrong spot, whatever, So then, then from there I'll go to nail and clinching. Quickly, almost done. Go to nail and clinching. And the nail and clinching is I won't stop and look at the foot on the floor. First I'll pick it up and look at it from the bottom. Make sure that the shoe didn't shift. They nailed it where they thought they nailed it, where they wanted it. That's where they handed me a fit. That there's no heels floating. What's important to me. It's all just good basic shit. And then from there, the final topper of the score will be nails are in line, things are nice, things are tight. And, I'll just end there. It wants me off here. But is there any other questions, real quick? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So offset. So what I'll do is measure from center of the foot to the outside heel, and then to the inside heel. So let's say this one over here is 5 3/4, and this side over here is 5. So I'll take that 3/4 of an inch, split it in half, and that'll be my offset. If it's 5 1/2, this is 5 1/4, quarter-inch difference, 1/8 inch offset. See what I'm saying? So it'd be the same on the specimen also. You can see if you get a preventer style shoe will have a crazy offset. You can do that with the millimeters and your ratio. You can figure out what that offset is to save you a lot of shoe building errors later on, and it saves you a lot of time, to know what that is. And it's very important, like I said, on the hunters or even roadsters. So again, too, so on the roadsters, you're going to have that crazy, let's say that crazy foot, the crazy offset, but then you have to keep in mind too, okay, but I want a 1/4 inch of boxing too. So you're going to have to add your offset plus your 1/4 inch of boxing. You're going to have to keep all those measurements in your head, So if the foot requires an 1/8 inch offset, 1/4 inch, you're up, you just keep adding 3/8 of an inch or whatever, offset on your toe. Anything else? I hope that was helpful. If you got any questions or whatever, we'll be around. Just ask me. And like I say, I think competing's been great for me. I've enjoyed a lot of it, and it's given me a lot of opportunities. So I highly recommend it for sure. Yep, it's good.